Yeah, yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. You're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Click the live stream tab or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG Network. I am Celeste Giordano, your show host, along with my fall season co-host, Sherita Herring, and we are the Global Legacy and Wealth Building for the next hour. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. Last but not least, our disclaimer. The topics and opinions are those of the show host and guest and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. And thank you, Penny Rogers and WCEG family, for the opportunity for Sherita and I to welcome these wonderful guests with us today on Global Legacy and Wealth Building. And hello, Sherita, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me as your guest host.
Absolutely, and we appreciate you filling in. And Sarah, for this fall season, I've talked with her and she said it was all right to share. She's having some knee replacement surgery. So she's going to be out of pocket, and Sherita has offered to fill in for our fall season for Global Legacy and Wealth Building on building a legacy nonprofit. So Sherita, for our audience and our listeners, I would love for you to share a little bit about you before we introduce our guests, Christine and Becky.
Oh my gosh. My organization, the Philanthropy Alliance Foundation, I've been in operation for more than 30 years. And there has been such a transition. You know, I still teach grant writing. I teach nonprofit development, and we establish those. But also now, Celeste, as you know, I've made a major change from Los Angeles to Arkansas. And so it's a major change, and I call it from Beverly Hills to Barnyard. So now not only am I teaching individuals how to grow their business, sustain their businesses through grants, I'm also helping individuals know how to live on the homestead and go after grant funding for that. So there's a major transition. That's just it in a nutshell, and I'm here having fun.
Absolutely, Sherita. And on behalf of the Women in Community Impact, we do this nonprofit show through WCEG Network, and we are grateful and privileged for everything that you shared with our organizations last year. We did some workshops that you facilitated, and we had a lot of people in the area that showed up for that. I don't know if anybody's labeled this other than me, but I labeled you the grant writing queen. And I'm your greatest cheerleader, Sherita. Just really appreciate you and the knowledge. You're a wealth of knowledge and education in the nonprofit industry.
Yeah,
so I am so excited about us this week, this fall season, doing this nonprofit show for Global Legacy and Wealth Building. But we need to get right into our show because we have some great guests today here, Sherita.
Yes.
We have. I'm going to introduce Christine Martinello first. Christine is not a newbie here. She is a veteran with WCEG Network and Global Legacy and Wealth Building, and she's with the Love Box Foundation. And Christine, could you tell us a little bit about the Love Box Foundation?
I will be pulling out my love glasses for the program. I have a little collection here, just so y'all know that.
Oh my gosh, how adorable. They instantly make you smile.
These are my latest gift from a love agent on our board, and I just love them. They're so fun. I have a matching Wonder Woman heart bracelet too. Anyway, what was the question? Did you have a question?
I had a question, Christine. I hope you got your bell because I need it.
I'm the woman of promise.
I wanted you to introduce yourself and tell our audience and listeners a little bit about the Love Box Foundation, please.
I would be happy to. So the Love Box Foundation is a charity with a very simple focus and passion, and it is to spread love and create a more loving world. And we do that in 3 ways. We do education events for people about how they can create a loving life and a loving family. And then we also have events that we host that are promoting love in the world. So we walk in parades. We have spoken at rallies. We have our first annual Love Box Awards is going to be coming up in October to highlight and put the spotlight on people who are doing love, spreading love in the world. And then we also have loving experiences. It's the third thing the foundation does. And so we share Love Box products. I'll pull out the Love Box here so your viewers can see it. We have the Love Box, which is a keepsake to keep love notes and books, educational books about how to grow and love. And I'm really excited to share that we have our next book that is coming out, and I got the galley copy here, and it's called Love Movement. And so it's about spreading love and really harnessing love and then releasing it in the world.
Absolutely. And Christine,
Wonderful.
you have been such a wonderful, your organization has been wonderful with Love Notes. I know for the Women in Community Impact that we're very passionate about helping Home of Hope, Mother's Day projects, Thanksgiving projects, and Christmas. There's been the foster children that were hundreds of notes written up, for the foster children this year, where we did a backpack drive. And these love notes, your love agents wrote these notes for all of these events that we did. Plus you do many, many more. And we just really appreciate your dedication and loyalty to give back to the community and to make a difference, because you really are, and you're doing it with love.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we host Love Box events, 10 a year. And so like you said, Celeste, every month almost, we have different groups that we give to. We just finished up our education program because it's back to school time. And we gave over 4,811 handwritten love notes for children going back to school, at-risk students, and then for 39 schools in Virginia. And so, yeah, it's just growing and growing. We'll have the military campaign will come up in November. And every month, the love agents in 3 states just write as many love notes as they can. And it is remarkable how much love we're spreading. It's awesome.
Very good. Well, we look forward to hearing a little bit more from you a little bit later. And we have Becky Ruland all the way live from an undisclosed location in Ukraine. And we are so excited, and just what a privilege and honor it is, Becky, to have you on the show here today with your nonprofit and what you're doing, especially with the Ukrainians. So would you mind introducing yourself and telling our audience and listeners a little bit about you, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad to be with you. And as you said, I am in Ukraine. I'm in the western part of Ukraine. So this is quite a safe location. Nobody needs to be worried right now for me. So happy to be here. Happy to be with all of you. I'm the president and CEO of International Networx. We're based in Amarillo, Texas. We're a missionary organization. I started this nonprofit organization in the 90s when I left my career in broadcasting to become a missionary full-time. So this has been a really great organization to help myself and others around the world. Part of what we do is we help missionaries like myself who are serving in various countries. A lot of single women are part of our mission. And so their partners, their donors can send their funds through our nonprofit organization. And then we make sure that those funds are safely banked in the United States. And when they need their funds, they contact us and we send those funds forward to them on the field. A lot of places, these missionaries are in hostile countries that are unfriendly to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And they don't want their money in that country. They deal in cash. Right now in Ukraine, I'm dealing with a lot of cash. And so it's better for those missionaries to have their funds safe in our US account, and then we get it to them wherever they are in the world. Even during the pandemic, we were open every day, and they were so grateful. Another thing that we do, I'm very active with church construction. We have built over 30 buildings with my Ukrainian teams, teams of men, young men that we trained using American wood frame technology. We started doing this in the early 2000s in Ukraine when wood frame construction just was not done. And it's still a very fresh idea here in Ukraine. You know, in the United States, we've been building with wood for over 200 years. And I tell everyone that when they say, is a wood frame building really very strong? Is it really very efficient? Is it really very warm? Well, those are all the things that we tell pastors and missionaries and now businessmen and builders here in Ukraine. We have a legacy in Ukraine of building. And now after, you know, this war started, they have a massive, massive housing crisis here in Ukraine. I know you guys have been following the news. So appreciate the response of the United States. And anyway, that's my introduction. and we can talk more in detail as you like.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. So, you know, I'm going to start this off, then I'll let Sherita ask a question there. On some information that you and I had shared with each other, Becky, February 24th, 2022 is as memorable to Ukrainians as September 11th, 2001 is to Americans. And one of the things that you said is, where were you when the war started between Ukraine and Russia on that day?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Actually, I was in Argentina and I was with my team of Ukrainian builders. Pastor Robert Acosta in Argentina contacted me a couple of years ago and said, what you guys did in Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia to develop wood frame construction and teach young men how to do it, we need you to do that in Argentina as well, because we also build from bricks and concrete, just like in Eastern Europe, and we need something new. Our economy is failing, and we need to teach our men how to build, and we need lots of buildings. So by February of this year, I had my team of Ukrainians with me in Argentina. We were building a school for Pastor Robert. It was a 7,000 square feet school that we built in 30 days out of post frame construction, which is a Mennonite Amish technology. So we had probably 40 builders from the United States, Argentina, Brazil, and Ukraine and Russia. Lots of languages and cultures involved. We had just come around the corner to finish that project when the war started in Ukraine. So here I am with my precious Ukrainian and Russian builders, and one of them had his family with them. Their airline tickets to return home had already been canceled, and we were scrambling, listening to the news night and day. They were up all night long, listening and crying. We were all crying. My tears have just been as many as the Ukrainians over all that's been going on. But anyway, here we are in Argentina with stranded Ukrainians, and oh my goodness, what do we do? So I started communicating with senators from Texas, senators from Indiana, which is where our construction company mission partner is. What can we do? How can we help our Ukrainian friends get somewhere safe? And it was a real challenge, I tell you, but God was faithful. He helped us to get our Ukrainians into the United States, and they joined many other Ukrainian refugees that are now in the United States. And we're so grateful for the outpouring of love and graciousness from people in the US and in other European countries. Just embraced our Ukrainian friends. Millions fled across the border within days. And so that's where I was when the war started, was in Argentina. And then we traveled into Mexico Mexico. We crossed the Mexican border with my Ukrainians. That was a challenge, an adventure that I never, ever, ever expected. But again, God was with us. He caused pieces of puzzles to just come into place so we could get across that border safely with this family, children, bring them into the US, get them into California. They went on to Indiana, and then I stayed in California for several weeks to serve the thousands that fled across that Mexican border into the United States from Ukraine.
Sherita, you got some questions?
I do. Well, for one, you said with you, with all the various builders you had Russians and Ukrainians with you.
Yes, that's right.
So how did that pan out with Russians and Ukrainians right there together and this unbelievable situation that has occurred? How did that play out?
Yeah. Well, you know, this is a real precarious situation going on between these two nations. These are brothers fighting brothers, families fighting families. There are a lot of great Russian people, and they can't even express openly how opposed they are to this war. And I have friends in all of these nations, and their hearts are hurting for each other. It's diabolical. This war is absolutely diabolical. And the propaganda that has been going on is incredibly crazy. My friends that help me as builders, they are brothers. They love each other. We've been together for years. They've been my team members for years. And so to have this very precarious situation just suddenly occur, I mean, we were sitting in a dining room that we turned into a war strategy room instantly to try to find out how can we help our friends. And our Russian brother, he had to get home to his family, and his airline tickets were being canceled midair. And we were having trouble with internet in this location in Argentina where we were. It was very difficult and challenging just to get him home. It took him 4 or 5 days through airplanes and trains and buses and hitching rides just to get home to his family in Russia. And that was just one situation. Then we had another Ukrainian brother. He had to get home to his brand new baby and wife, and airline tickets were being canceled. And what were we to do? And he said, I'm going home if I have to walk, because he cares so much for his family. He had to get there. So again, God helped us work out the logistics, crazy logistics. We got him home. And then I had my project manager / engineer / builder trainer with his precious family, 2 children and wife, and then another single guy. And that's who was tagging with me for those days, trekking through Mexico into California. These guys love each other. There's no tension at all between them.
Right. Wow. I just was wondering, because after you said that you all were there together, that was the first thing. I'm like, they're looking at each other like, almost like, what do we do? You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You know, I've been here in Ukraine now for about 2.5 weeks. My feet have been all over this ground. I left from Kiev just a few days ago. Terrible photos you can see on my Facebook page. Just, you know, when we have a tornado come through West Texas, we say, wow, it looks like a war zone. Well, I know what a war zone looks like. And it's just disheartening and sad and terrible. The images that I've seen, the tears that I have have had on my shoulder in these last days, crying with them. The stories that they tell me, everyone has a story. It's just very incredible how people exited the country within moments on February 24th when that war started. They had to grab everything they could grab and throw it in a duffel bag and get out and start heading to where do you go? Where do you go? Some people had cars, so they got in their cars and joined the miles long lines trying to get out of their cities heading towards the western border. And then you've got the neighboring border up north of Belarus, and people telling me we had to go towards Belarus, but that's where the airplanes were flying towards us. They were just over our heads. These bombers were flying over our heads, and we don't know if it's safe for us to go to Belarus or not. And then others talking about how they had to weave through the traffic and look at these Russian tanks coming at them and not knowing if they might be fired upon. I've driven on roads these last few days where my friends that are in the car with me say the tanks were right here. And I look out the window and there's a burned tank, a burned Russian tank right there. That there's bullet holes in all of these buildings. There's burned out windows. Houses are gone, decimated, not even just in the cities, but in little villages. That these Russian tanks came into these little villages, mom and pop, grandma, grandpa, that all they do is they tend to their little gardens. That's all they do. They have cows and chickens. And here these Russian tanks came in and just started firing on people and mowing them down. That to me is diabolical. It's evil, and there's a huge recovery process ahead of them. They're surprised. My friends here are so surprised that I'm here. They say, Becky, you're so brave. And I say, no, it's because I love you so much.
Yeah.
I want to be here to lift up your arms, to encourage you, to let you know that we stand with you, to let you know that we love you, to let you know we're praying for you. And they say, we know. And we're so thankful that America is with us. They say, if not America, we would already be part of Russia.
Wow.
They don't want
Thing
that.
is, and what's crazy is when this started, look at those that were saying that the war was not happening and that it was just propaganda. I mean, that is the crazy.
No, I don't know why they think these things, and it is still happening. As I said, we've got people here that their families are intermingled for generations and centuries. So Ukrainians have family that are up in Russia. They've traveled for always and ever from Russia down to Ukraine to go to the Black Sea. The Belarusians that are right in between, sandwiched in between these two countries, they have relatives here. And so when they're talking to their relatives in Russia that are so surrounded by propaganda, and they have to deal with these dynamics of conversation where they're hearing about the evil Ukrainians, it creates great tension between families. It has divided families. It's so unfortunate. It's so difficult for them.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm sorry, Penny. I mean, I'm sorry, Celeste.
No, go ahead.
I was getting ready to type something to Penny as far as our engineer, and so, but I figured I better do this first. Celeste, I mean, Becky, the more than I think 70,000 people from Ukraine have come into the U.S. since last March, and I was wondering, once this war is over, because it's going to end, do you think that most that have come will have that desire to go back home and will go back home, or do you think they would just make their home here?
Millions have already begun to come back to Ukraine. I think I heard the statistic this week, 5 million have come back home from Europe.
Good.
Now, those that made their way to the US, will they come back? I don't know. It costs a lot of money for them to go there.
Mhm.
The United States is so very different from Ukraine. And people that are in Ukraine, oftentimes, forever and always, as long as I've lived over here, the greatest desire of most Ukrainians is to go to America and live in America. Well, I can tell you from my friends who are refugees and for the many refugees that I've helped from Ukraine that are in the United States, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for them. There are many that are right there in the Atlanta area.
Mhm.
And so you've got the first level of culture is language. And so you have people coming to the United States that they maybe have these dreams of what America will be like for them when they finally get there. Well, they don't speak the language maybe. Or even if they speak the language, they don't understand all the dynamics of our culture. And they don't have a job. And if they want to be there legally, they have to be able to work. Well, the humanitarian parole option that these millions quickly came into the United States on, it's a level of refugee status, and they were able to get through our borders quickly on humanitarian parole. Praise God for that. But there's levels of processing that they have to go through to be legal in the US and to get towards their court dates and their court appearances to get those statuses and to get their documents in order. So they're not supposed to be working. But how can you live in a country where you have to buy food and you can't work legally? So there's some systems in our United States that when it comes to refugees and immigration that are broken and have been broken for a long time. I think I can say that, and it's okay. If it's not okay, just chalk it up. I'm a Texan.
Oh,
All
one of
right.
the things that we said is yes, you're from Texas, and you actually, based on this conversation, I mean, the audience would know, before the war broke out, you were already working in the Ukraine, and now you have the language, you can speak like them, and we would love to hear that. So.
Спасибо тебе. Я так рада вас все видеть. И здесь каждый день я говорю по-русски целый день.
Oh, wow.
Translate that.
It sounds
Okay,
beautiful.
I said, thank you very much. I'm so happy to see all of you. And I can speak Russian. I've been speaking Russian all day, every day. So by the time my head hits the pillow, my brain is a little tired and I try to just turn off the Russian that's circulating in my head.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
So for our audience and listeners, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box right there. We would love to ask your questions. And, Becky, so what can we do in Atlanta and other U.S. cities for the Ukrainian refugees?
First of all, be very patient with them. Recognize that they have been traumatized by war. You can't imagine all that they experienced within a few short moments of grabbing up their things and fleeing their country. And for those that were here longer and they saw all that they saw, and then they finally were able to get out, they're dealing with all kinds of traumas. So love them, embrace them, be kind and patient with them. They're experiencing so much and trying to deal with so much. They've got families back home. Help them with the language. Help them to learn the English language. as I said, it's the first level of culture, and it's the most important thing to help them fully embrace this new American culture. Help them to understand when they are making mistakes. Just find ways to kindly help them understand that this is American culture, and it might not be like Ukrainian culture, but this is why we do what we do. The why. Understand the why. That's how we always, missionaries, that's how we get by when we go to other countries and something just seems a little off and a little strange or a little hard to embrace. We ask, well, why is it that they do that? And when we understand why, then it's easier to help.
Absolutely. Again, we want to have you put your questions in the Facebook comments or in the YouTube comments. And, you know, Becky, as we hosted Women of Community Impact, hosted you a couple of weeks ago on our monthly networking via Zoom. You know, we've been in dialogue with a mutual friend of ours that you introduced me to, and one of the Ukrainian churches, I guess, is it a Ukrainian church here? And reached out to Women of Community Impact for us to help. And she shared the same thing that you did, that the refugees, whether they're in Atlanta or anywhere, you know, number one, they have to go through that process of being documented, you know, get a social security card, get a green card. You know, they don't know anything about bank accounts. They don't know the importance of protecting that green card or social security card and being vulnerable to people taking advantage of them with these things. And so we're looking forward to that dialogue and hopefully being able to put a workshop on for the Ukrainian refugees later this fall to educate them and inform them on the things that they need to know. So, and we've been talk with WCEG Network as well, that hopefully those that can't come in person to the church, that maybe we can get this message out through a live stream message as well to them. So we appreciate
That's super.
That. And before we go on to the next guest, because I know it's midnight your time, and you know it's 5 o'clock our time here, is what can we do to help you in Ukraine besides pray?
Yeah, thank you. Definitely prayer helps a lot. I feel God's presence every single moment of every day helping us. We're in meetings right now with pastors that we have partnered with in the past and new pastors to find out what they need from us to help solve some of the problems with the massive housing shortage. Millions have lost their homes. One pastor told us a few days ago that 2.5 million people have no place to live. That's just a crazy amount. So, you know, in the United States, we build with wood, and our mission, we are mission builders here in Ukraine, and we've been building with wood here for the last 20 years. So now we're showing them our portfolio on our website and saying, these beautiful buildings that we've built for the past 20 some odd years here, they stand here in Ukraine. And they're going, really? You build like this in Ukraine? Can we build houses like this? And so we're asking the pastors and builders and business owners, how can we partner with you and your local governments that are giving land, that are giving financial subsidies? How can we help you to quickly build communities? We're hearing some great ideas of how to build communities, small communities of quick built wood frame houses, 2-bedroom houses, 3-bedroom houses for families, and even little mini farms. We've got this one brother that he's great guy. They're very innovative, very creative thinking. He's created this beautiful PowerPoint program, and he's got some good ideas about how to include mini farms into these communities that we can quickly build, and people can support each other. People can survive with what they grow themselves, animals and produce. So our website information is in the chat. internationalnetworks.org/helping Ukrainians. If you can, anybody wants to give into what we're doing over here, there are buttons on that page. There are buttons all over our website to give. And any giving that you do, you can designate it. There are spaces where you can put it very clearly in there. We want to help Ukraine, and we'll get those funds over here immediately to me and to our friends here that are in such desperate need.
Becky, you're saying that there's a vast difference in how we build here in the United States and build there, with them building with bricks or stone or whatever. What's the time difference? Like, does it take maybe a month to build the house, or weeks, versus to build the same kind of structure or size would take months? And then my second question is, are you in need of volunteers? Maybe there's someone that will be listening to the show that would like to take that step like you've done and make a difference.
Yeah, the time frame to build a wood frame house. So we're not talking about gargantuan. We have built gargantuan buildings that are called churches, but the houses that we're talking about are small, and we're developing plans right now with our partners in Indiana. We're working on a design right now with a company here that's a panel house. These houses will go up in a month to 2 months, and we will get our teams working in different shifts to get these houses done quickly. Mm-hmm. If you're doing it with bricks and concrete like they typically do, it can take up to a year to build a house of the same size. Okay. And they tend to be cold because they're bricks. They tend to be very inefficient because they're bricks. I'm not a proponent of building with bricks. Can you tell? And yes, if people want to volunteer, you can go again on our website. We have lots of places where you can communicate to me. The message will come directly to me. And we like to put together mission trips. We have people that have been coming over here, are coming over here. Of course, we're taking every measure to be safe. And our friends want us to be safe too. And of course, God is with us. If God calls you to come to Ukraine and help, he will make sure that you're safe, and we'll make sure that you're safe. And these pastors will make sure that you're safe, and they'll make sure that you're fed. They'll give you the last thing out of their refrigerator, because that's who they are.
Absolutely. Well, Becky, our hearts love your heart. You're in our prayers and thoughts. You, the Ukrainians. We could go on and talk for a very, very long time. I know it's a little bit after midnight over there. You are welcome to stay on the show with us as we talk with Christine Martinello and the Love Box Foundation. But you will not hurt our hearts if you want to, want to go to bed.
Yeah,
that is perfectly fine. And again, all the information of how you can help and support Becky and her organization and the Ukrainians is in the Facebook chat. So please feel free to go to the website. Give us the website one more time, Becky, please.
Yeah, it's www.internationalnetworks, and Networx is spelled with an NETWORX. www.internationalnetworks.org/help Ukrainians.
Absolutely. Well, Becky, we thank you so much. Sherita, do you have some closing comments you want to say right there before we let Becky go?
No, I just want to thank you, and I will continue to pray for you. Thank you for being over there. Thank you for your service. And real quick, you're also a clergy, and I just was wondering, for those that may also be clergy, some countries are not as keen to have women clergy. How is that in the Ukraine? And if you can answer that quickly.
It depends on what kind of church denomination we're talking about. I tend to deal a lot with people in the churches that are considered non-denominational or charismatic churches. They're quite fine typically with women in ministry. There are others that are not so fine with women in ministry, but I'm a Texan and they love me and they embrace me no matter what. So,
Okay.
All right.
my
Thank you
dear.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
All right.
Yay.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
good night, everybody.
Good
Night.
night.
Good day, everybody.
Absolutely. Okay. Wow. Christine Martinello,
Woo!
what's your thoughts on that real quick? Like,
Well, I mean, Becky, just God bless you, and we are praying for you. I have so many thoughts. I actually have traveled to over 25 countries, and I lived in London for 4 years. And my dad was an immigrant from Italy to America. And so as a first generation immigrant, I understand, and my heart gets it. You are always straddling cultures. You never fit in. But what I know now is that those skills are invaluable for creativity and innovation. Because
Yeah.
now when I sit on this side, I mean, some of the best innovations have come from immigrants or immigrants' children who then go, wait a minute, like you see the world so different than everybody else because it is so different and you're absorbing so much. That's one point. The other point that really resonates with me when you said is, there is evil and yet you love these people so much. And that's where the passion, that's where the drive is. And when you were talking about having your heart hurt so much and so many tears, it's like, I think about how many tears I've shed for the shootings that in America that we've, written for El Paso and Dayton. And I mean, the list goes, Uvalde now, the list goes on and on. And so I want to encourage actually our listeners to look at what makes you mad or sad, and you go get it. You go get it, because that is God prompting you, saying, this is not okay. This needs to shift. And so for me, clearly, when we have our campaigns, 10 campaigns, and we've done everything from, women who are battered and abused to, children who are just at risk of dropping out of high school or college or whatever, just, at risk of mental illness. I mean, I just think God has broken my heart so many times for so many people. And that is because the compassion, the connection, and the curiosity are what drive us in the directions that we need to drive in.
Mhm.
And so I just applaud you, and I applaud all of us for really getting at it. And I know, I don't usually speak like that, but that's kind of what I have seen through the years, because I've been in business now for 28 years with training solutions, doing leadership training. And now with the Love Box, it's been since 2013 is when I actually wrote the first and created the first Love Box product. And then we've been giving now for, 8 years, but had the formal foundation in the last year. And what I've seen is that God continually invites us to say yes to more. Okay, yeah, now I've given you, I remember with you, Celeste, and, the women that we've worked with, it was those, students and people that were abused and that were sex trafficked. And I just thought, how do I even speak to that? Well, you speak to that, and now you speak to the next thing, and now you speak to the next thing. And, I just think about when the, pandemic came for all of us, has been trauma now. And Becky, when you were talking about trauma, like the lady, I'm a big proponent and researcher into mental health and trauma. And in America, I mean, 60% of adults say that they have had a major traumatic experience in America.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, and here's the difference. We see a war and it's so gruesome and so visual. We're like, go get it. But what we see with mental illness and with a lot of the things that I work with, it's so stigmatized that people suffer in silence.
Yeah.
People don't go, you know what, I feel really unlovable. And yet our statistics are that, I think the latest statistics said that 46% of Americans feel so lonely and isolated. Like, that's evil. When we are lonely and isolated and separated, that's where the evil can move in because we're weak, right? So when we're united, and that's what I do with the Love Box all the time, is that we are always letting people know that they are seen, they are heard, they are not alone, someone cares and has compassion. And, you know, Jesus called us to love your strangers and love the enemies.
Yeah.
And love agents do that all the time. And, you know, I don't know where I'm going with all this, but that's what I'm thinking right now.
Well, no, and that was very good, Christine, how you tied that in for those comments, because, you know, what Becky and the Ukrainians and all those people need is they need love. And, you know, and I'm sure that you and I will have a conversation with the Ukrainian thing that we're doing, that we'll have some love notes from your love agents and Love Box Foundation for the Ukrainian project that we're working on.
Absolutely.
But what I'd like to do is, you already told us a little bit about yourself and the Love Box movement. How did the Love Box begin for our audience and listeners?
Okay, I'll give you the very short abridged version because it's all in writing and on the website. Basically, I was shopping with 3 of my children who were then under the age of 5.5 in a large department store in a cold November day in Ohio. That's where we lived at the time. And I was looking at all the toys. I was just sort of scouting out all the toys in a large department store. And this thought just jumped into my head. And it was, what can I give my kids to show them how much I love them? And I'm just looking at all these toys going, it's all stuff, right? Like, what's this going to all mean in 10 years, 20 years? My husband, Bob, and I talked about it that night. And we said, hey, how about on Christmas Eve, we write love notes to each other, we read them out loud, and we just turn it into a family love night. And we've done that. We started that in 1999. We've done that every single year since. And it built this foundation of love and expression in our family that is profound. You know, I came from a home life, like I said, feeling like we never fit in. We were in fear a lot. You didn't dare have a voice. And I now, and my husband and all of my kids, have the voice of love. And that changes everything for a family. And then now for, you know, tens of thousands of people in communities.
Wow. What's huge about that is that your husband mentioned to write the letter. I mean, that says a lot about him and who he is, because so often, at least the way we think men think, that
right,
man to do that and to have that kind of emotional even connection to it, and to know that can make a difference. You just seldom hear that as far as come from the males in our lives.
Yeah, yes, Sherita, absolutely. And you know, I have 2 young men in their 20s, and then my daughter's in her, we have 3 20-somethings now. And I have to tell you, they all write amazing love notes. And my youngest son, his love notes bring tears to your eyes every time. He is a remarkable writer, and believe you me, unless he was trained, he would not be that.
Wow.
So it gives people the opportunity to train their children on how to express love and how to express differences and express their feelings. Because all that, you know, I love Mother Teresa. I love so many great, profound writers. And when I think about what she talked about, she said the greatest poverty in the world is not the want of food, but the want of love.
Wow. Yeah.
So how many food banks do we have here? Yeah. How many love banks are there, right? I'm like, whoa. And now with the pandemic and, you know, the suicide rate and the mental health rising and the children that are just so lost.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of work to do, and we're doing it. So that fires me up. But to your point about men, I have found some of the men now to write the most amazing love notes, but they need to learn. So it's always the woman who's almost like starts it, initiates it. And then it's the men. I mean, I hear from woman after woman saying, he wrote the most beautiful thing. I mean, it's amazing. I didn't know he even felt like that. Women that were married 20, 25 years, because we haven't given them the opportunity to express themselves. Yes. But a love note is like so little, right? It's like so little. And, it's not intimidating. And then in the books we have, samples for everything. And of course, now with the love movement, we have samples for everything from, writing love notes to people who have all the, teachers and children at risk and foster families. And what is super cool about this now is that we've had people in those areas of crisis or need that have actually written those love notes. So it's the voice, their voice, it's what they need to hear. And I'm just so grateful that we get to be the keeper of that love. Like I said at the beginning, to harness it and then to release it.
Absolutely. Sherita, you got a question?
Huh?
You have a question for us?
Well, I just, when you were talking about mental health, one, it's because we watch celebrities so much, for so many celebrities to even talk about that they're in counseling, to even talk openly that maybe they are bipolar, that is helping so many other individuals to come out and just people to accept that it is no longer the stigma. And because if you're living in silence, I mean, for people to be able to feel more comfortable in talking about walking in their truth and whatever they're in, that's going to reduce domestic violence, substance abuse, obesity, the eating disorders,
Right.
of all of those that live in silence. The other thing about your love notes, just like recently, one of my Facebook friends, and we've been she shed sisters on another site, and she wrote me the most beautiful letter. And I treasure that. And I let her know that, I mean, I can't remember the last time I got something that was handwritten. And then another one sent me a gift and she had her handwritten, it was a handwritten card. Those I have up and I have them close and I love looking at them and they make me smile. Now, it's nothing wrong with just getting a card.
Right. But
when someone has taken the time to write a letter or a note to you, that is special.
Oh, it's so special. And the experience, Sherita, just think about when you're reading that note, it's between you and the writer. It's a very private thing, right? It's just like you and the note. Just imagine that love magnified in your whole friend group or your whole family group. Right. It's like, and then when I'm speaking, like when you pull a love note out of the love box, you pull one out because you put them all in there, you mix it around, then you pull one out. I've been doing it for what, it's over 20 years now. Yeah. And I've never read my own love note. So I might be reading one that's from my son to my husband. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now I'm getting their love. I'm proclaiming their love. It is, I call it magical, but it's basically this force field of love that moves, and this energy of love. It is such a unique experience. And then that's why when people do it and they feel the energy and they feel that group love, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I need to be a love agent now. I need to tell more people about this because there is nothing else like that. Yeah. So it's taking and we all know we have notes in a box probably somewhere, but do we have them like that we could just pull it out, read them over and over and over again? And from birth to death, it's so beautiful and they're so easy. And so it's changing the trajectory of how we express ourselves. And it's changing the foundation dynamic of, everybody can say, yeah, love you. I mean, we're Italian, we're always kissing and hugging, and everything, touch is really important too, but to have the physicality of a love note that lasts forever, all in one place. I look at the Queen now and how she wrote that one letter that's supposed to be opened up. Did you see that? There's a letter that's supposed to be opened up in, 50 plus years. Yeah. And I think, this has turned into, I have, over 20 years of love notes from all my kids and my husband and my dad who's passed and my sisters who have passed. It's like, I have this keepsake that will go into eternity. This will go to my kids. Yes. It's easy, it's succinct. It's powerful. Love is powerful.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Celeste.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, Sherita. We have about 4 minutes left. And so what can our listeners do to get involved and spread more love, Christine? And also, if you'd like to share about the awards.
Sure. Thank you, Celeste.
Yes.
So first of all, I would say we would love to have more volunteers. We're in 3 states now. We need to be in every state come on, everyone needs love on every level. I mean, we could just blow this thing up of love all around the country and then move to other countries, right? Like everyone needs more love. So first of all, I would love to see people step up, just reach out. Yes, I want to be a love agent. We have one person in charge of that. She'll get you, like how you do that is a very simple process. We can get going with that. Two, so becoming a love agent is our first, ask. Then second, to help us financially, because it costs money to love boxes, love notes, to keep us organized. I need an admin person now. I'm like, my gosh, I'm all over the place, right? and we have to build, the bigger we get, the more people we need to support us and to build the team, and web designer and videographer. It just goes on and on. My days are never boring. I'm like, what am I doing today? I did a final edit on our next video. I'm like, am I a videographer? No, but you just do it all because you're so passionate about it. So that's the other thing. And then third, I would say really to pray for us, because like Becky said, you know what, we're in a war zone too. And it's for souls.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the souls of our people. And the evil is looking to destroy, to separate, to divide, and conquer. And we are looking to unite and to have love and to have joy and to have people that have sparkles in their eyes and that love their life and they love their neighbors. We have a lot of work to do in America to change and to unite us all. And so, that's what I would say is to, one, volunteer, become a love agent, or do it in your own family. Start even simple, just core if that's easier for you. Two, to help us financially. And then three, to go ahead and do something in your community and pray for us.
Absolutely. And in the spring, Christine, I think we had you and forgive me, Chris, for the mental health show.
Cindy.
Cindy,
Yes.
I knew it was,
Cindy.
yeah. So we had Cindy. And I don't know if Penny can put that link in there for that show, because that was a phenomenal show that
Thank
we
you.
did on mental health with that link. And is there anything else? Could you give the website one more time for our listeners? We got about 2.5 minutes.
Okay, before we do that, I will say, do not be blind to loving your neighbor. You're blind, you need to lighten it up. You need to see, because a lot of people are like, I don't see all these needs. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're everywhere. So then I'll just show you, here's mine. See, so a little translucent, you can see if you look around a little bit more. So be open to opening your heart and your mind and your hands to loving. And then I would say, the website is loveboxfoundation.org, that people can get involved on that website.
Absolutely. And I real quick, I want to give a quick testimonial for you we were very thankful and grateful for our foster children project that we did through Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and Atlanta, and all the love notes. And I had a few of those left over. And one of the recipients was Positive Impact there in Atlanta. And they have just recently opened up a foster home to house 8 children. And we took Women Community Impact, took some things over there, and I took those notes to the house mother. And she said, a lot of some of these kids are disciplinary and things of this nature. And she almost had tears in her eyes looking at these love notes that she could give one of these kids that's staying in that home. So I just want to tell you, it was a very heartfelt moment. And thank you on behalf of Women in Community Impact and Positive Impact of those foster notes for foster children.
Well, thank you for telling me that story. It's beautiful. And that's why we do what we do every day, is that we know that we are changing lives forever. Because when someone has a love note, they never throw it away. Absolutely. You don't keep your texts and all that other stuff, but the love note goes in the pile and you keep it. So thank you. We're changing lives.
Yes, we are. As we close out this show, Sherita, you've got about 30 seconds. Would you give us some closing remarks for tonight? And thank you so much for being our co-host tonight. I'm so excited to
thank you.
do this.
I just want to say that a lot of times people are intimidated about writing if they don't feel like they write very well. My mom was one of them. She passed away back in 1990. I still have the last note that she wrote to me. She didn't write very well. She only had an 8th grade education. And she just wrote, just wanted to send you a line. Line was misspelled. It was just L-I-N. And she drew a long line down the page and then wrote Mom. That still gives me chill bumps.
Yes.
And so notes are so important, and don't be afraid to write. And you guys, again, thank you for letting me co-host today. Thank you for exposing me to you and Christine, and to Becky and the wonderful guests that we've had. Celeste, I'm honored to be a co-host.
We are honored and privileged for each and every one of you. Most importantly, WCEG Talk Network. Thank you, Penny Rogers and the board and staff, for giving us this platform and allowing us to give back to the community. We love you guys. Keep praying for you, Christine. We'll pray for Becky and Sherita and WCEG Network. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening. The bell. Bye-bye.
Bye.